Hi, welcome to our plant-based cooking show. My name is Susan Jenson and I'm so glad that you joined us so that you can learn more about healthy eating and healthy plant-based eating, especially for the holidays. So today I have a few recipes that I'm going to tell you about. Well, two recipes that I'll demonstrate and one recipe that I want to tell you about. But first of all, I want you to take a look at this. We're going to do a lentil loaf with a glaze on top. And then I'm going to tell you about these corn casserole, quiche casserole with salsa on top too. So you'll have the recipes for all of this. So if you want to follow along with me, we're going to start with the lentil loaf recipe. And I have pre-cooked these lentils. Now you can buy them in the can. You can buy them already cooked at Trader Joe's, but this is about 1.5 cups of cooked lentils. Actually, before we do that, I need to start sauteing the vegetables. So let's do the vegetables first. We've got 1 carrot here cut up and 2 little stalks of celery cut up and 1 small onion. So I'm just going to put them in here and I'm just going to saute with water. And let's just put them in here. And it takes about 8 minutes for them to saute. And we'll put the mushrooms at the end because they cook down a lot quicker. So while these are sauteing, we're going to work on the other part of the lentil loaf. And the more vegetables that you can eat, the better, right? So, okay, so let's put the lentils in here. 1.5 cups of cooked lentils. You don't want to have a lot of liquid with them, all right, because you don't want to throw off the balance of the loaf. But the lentil loaf is very forgiving. So let's see here. So you have 1.5 cups cooked. The brown or green lentils, don't use the red lentils. They're a little bit too smushy. And here's 1 cup of just regular oats. Oh, you know what it says? Put 1 cup of cooked lentils. Sorry. Let me just stir this a little bit as this gets going. So we're going to reserve some of the lentils because you like to have a little bit of texture with your lentil loaf. So we'll just take some out and reserve that to add later. But we will add all the oats. And one flavoring that's really good, Dr. Greger recommends, is using this miso. It does have sodium in it, but it's a fermented product and it's a lot better for your gut. So we'll add a tablespoon of the white miso. It's very pasty. You can get this at, actually I think I got something at Trader Joe's. But you can get it at Whole Foods, you can get it at different ethnic stores. Okay, so you have to make sure that it's vegan. Sometimes they put fish stuff in there, so you have to make sure that it's vegan. All right, so we've got the lentils and the oats and the miso, and then poultry seasoning. You can use whatever seasoning you like. A lot of recipes will call for like 5 different types of seasonings. So I'm just using poultry seasoning. It's just one mix and that's it. So if you like it really flavorful, poultry seasoning, put 2 teaspoons in. If you want it just mildly, because it has a strong, I think it's a sage or maybe it's thyme in there. So I'm putting a little bit less than 2 teaspoons in there. Okay. We'll stir these up a little bit. I know it hasn't been 8 minutes, but for the food demo, what we're going to do, we'll add the mushrooms. I've cut some mushrooms up and put those in here. With lentil loaf or a bean loaf, you can, the basic ingredients are the bean, the oats, and seasoning and vegetables. And you want it to be able to stick together. Some people put, what do they call it? The flax flax meal. You can do that if you want it to stick together. Some people put rice in there, but rice, you have to probably blend it a little bit to make it more sticky because you want it to stick together. I've made some lentil loaves where it's been rice and lentils and they haven't, and flax meal, and they haven't held together that well. So it's kind of a fun thing to do, and you can also just put it in a casserole dish. You don't need to put it in a loaf. It'll bake a lot quicker in a casserole dish. Okay, we'll give this just a few more minutes. I'm going to add a little bit more water in there. You really want to soften, especially the carrots, because they won't really cook down while you bake them, because it's going to be baked for about an hour. So you really want to soften the carrots especially. They're the harder vegetables. So, you know, I think we're going to call this pretty good. So when you do it at home, just make sure it's cooked a little bit longer so that the carrots are softened. Okay, so we're going to put some of these vegetables in the mix there, and then we'll reserve some later for texture. Because for me, I love texture. That's what the walnuts will give texture, and the vegetables will give texture. So I don't like my lentil loaf too smushy. So I like the texture. So let's put some of this in here. Let's see. Well, maybe about half. Okay, so then we'll process that. Make sure I've got everything that I'm supposed to put in here. So you just process it really quick. You can scrape it down to make it a little bit more blended. So as you can see, it doesn't take that long, and it looks, I don't know if you want to see the texture of that. It's getting a little bit more pasty if you want it more than that, but look how well it's all sticking together. That's kind of the smushiness that you want for a lentil loaf. So I think we'll add the rest of the ingredients. The walnuts. I keep a container of chopped walnuts in my refrigerator because they come in handy whenever I need them. So you don't have to, you know, keep chopping. You have them all ready for you whenever you need them, when you put them in recipes. Okay, so here we go. Put all these veggies in here. Because you know veggies are good for you, right? Especially beans, oats. This recipe, I guess for people who are gluten-free, it's gluten-free, so that would be good. It's full of veggies. It's I haven't used any fat in it. Well, the walnuts have a little fat, so it's really healthy. So what we're going to do now is we'll just pulse it a few times. We don't want to blend it up too much, just to mix it around. Okay. Let's see. So you can see that it's got some whole veggies in there. That makes it look pretty. So I think, and the texture is good. You can see that it smushes together well. So let's get our loaf pan. If you have parchment paper, that works really well. You can line it like this. What I've done is I have one section going this way, and then I have another section going this way. And if you put it in there like that, and then when it's done, all you have to do is lift it out like that, and it comes out amazing. All right, so let's get this in here. This is going to be really good. Full of fiber. Did you know that fiber is really good for you? It's really good for the gut. And if your gut is happy and healthy, then you're going to be happy and healthy. So we want to make sure we eat lots of fiber. Okay. So you just want to take the back of your spatula, or you can use your fingers, your hands, and just smush them in to all the corners. Kind of level it out a little bit. And then you're going to put like a glaze on top after it's baked for like half an hour. So maybe what I could do is put this in the oven now, and there you go. So it's kind of smoothed out, it's packed down, and it's ready to go in the oven. Okay, so you're going to bake it for 30 minutes. And then you can either make your own glaze or you can use ketchup or barbecue sauce, whatever you like. There's a recipe for an alternate glaze. It's basically tomato paste, some maple syrup, and some balsamic vinegar and some salt if you want to. But the glaze really makes it nice. It adds some more flavor to it, and it just seems to make it look prettier. So I would really recommend using something for a glaze. And you can put that in now on top, but I think it's better to bake it like for half an hour first and then put the glaze on and then bake it for half an hour more. That just gives it a better, it gets done on the top first and then you put the glaze on. So thank you very much. We're going to move on now to making the pumpkin spice delights. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about these corn quiche muffins. They're really kind of cute, right? With a little bit of salsa on top. So it's basically tofu, and you cook some cornmeal and you mix it together with some spinach and some mild chilies, and you put them in a muffin tin, or you can use silicone, or I actually sprayed it a little bit with a non-stick spray. But it's really kind of a fun little entree that you could use, and it's very healthy too. It's got a lot of good veggies in there, a lot of good carbohydrates, and good protein. And please, I hope you try this recipe. It's really yummy. Okay, we're going to move on into the pumpkin spice delights. It's a fun little dessert that you can make for the holidays. And it's sugar-free, and it's really easy. So I hope you have a good food processor. That's what you need. We're going to process the oats first to kind of break them down a little bit. So that's 1.5 cup of just regular oats. So we'll just process them a little bit. You don't want them to turn into flour, but you want to just break them down a little bit. So if you can see that you see some whole oats there, but a lot has been broken down. So that's a good consistency. We'll put them in a separate bowl. And then we're going to process the walnuts. And that's a cup of just regular walnuts. And you want these to be, you don't want them turned into walnut butter, but you want them a little bit finer than what it is now. See, it's not quite ready, so we want to break it down a little bit more. You want to help to hold the balls together, and you also want to have some crunch. So if you see that, it's kind of like meal, walnut meal, I guess you would call it, but that's a good texture right there. And these are the dates that I soaked in some hot water. I'm just going to drain the water off real quick here. Okay, so then you want to add the dates, the pitted dates. Make sure they're pitted, of course, so you always want to cut them open. I don't know if you've made that mistake. I made that mistake once in a Vitamix, and I had the date pit in there, and it kind of bent the blade a little bit. But okay, so we'll process the dates and the nuts together. Okay, so you might want to just kind of So you can see it's getting smushy. You want to just kind of break it down a little bit, run it again, because you want those dates broken down real well. All right, let's do it again. When you add the other ingredients, it will really help to make it smoother. So here's the pumpkin that I got from Trader Joe's. It's just plain, pumpkin puree. You can see that. That's from Trader Joe's. And then we're going to add some pumpkin pie spice. And that's about 3/4 of a teaspoon. If you don't have pumpkin pie spice, you can put in cinnamon and allspice and cloves, and you can kind of make up your own. But you can also Google it, how to make your own pumpkin pie spice. 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Okay. And we're not going to add the coconut because that's what we're going to use to roll the balls in. All right, so let's process this. Looks like we need to stir it down a little bit. So it gets all mixed up. That looks pretty good, but to be honest with you, it needs a little bit more oats, to tell you the truth. So I think I'm going to add a little oats because then that will retain some of this liquid. It's too wet. So we need to dry it up a little bit with little oats. And that's what's fun about these ball recipes. You can adjust your ingredients so you have the right texture. So I'm just going to get some oats and pour a little bit more in there. You know what? I looked over here and guess what? I hadn't added the oats yet. Yikes. Okay, so let's add these oats. I feel like a fool. But anyways, that's okay. There we go. That's what was missing. Silly me. All right, so let's make sure that these oats get mixed in. That's what happens when you get nervous, right? That's okay. Now these are going to stick together really well now that they have their oats in them. Yeah, just process a little bit more. It doesn't want to process. So what you can do is you can take it out and you can always mix it by hand. But you know what? I think it's fine. Just spread the oats around a little bit. And so let's give it a go and see. We'll get our scoop and start making some balls here. Got the coconut in a dish. Got a plate to put it on here. I guess I can move this out of the way. So we'll get just a small scoop. Just a small, I don't know what number it is, but it's like a tablespoon. And you're just going to get a scoop, put it in your hand a little bit, round it out, roll it in the coconut, and put it on the plate. And there you got your little pumpkin pie spice delights. You can even bake these if you want to and dry them out a little bit if you like them a little bit more firm. Yeah, I love making these kind of balls. There's so many different kinds you can make. And it's basically dates and nuts. You can add oats, you can add cocoa powder. I mean, there's just so many different variables that you can do with these little balls. So there you have it. I wish you could taste them. They're really quite good. Just roll them in some coconut. And the coconut I use is, I got this at Sprouts, and it's organic and it's reduced fat because coconut is full of fat. But there you have it. You have some pumpkin pie spice delights. Make some more. Okay. These will make a lot, and you can freeze them. And I think the last time I did some kind of chickpea cookies, you saw those, and those are actually my breakfast cookies. So you can freeze these. You can serve them later, eat them for breakfast. They're really yummy. Eat them for a snack. Very, very healthy. And they look kind of like little snowballs. So there you have it. Thanks for coming. It's been fun. Hope you have a lot of fun doing your plant-based cooking and eating. I wanted to give you a few tips about Thanksgiving. Try to make it simple, right? Have you ever cooked all day and then you sit down and you eat for maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, and it's done and you're like, whoa, what happened? So I suggest that you make a really nice entree, like a lentil loaf or those corn quiches, and then use just a simple side, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and put some potatoes in an Instant Pot. You can cook some potatoes, have that on the side. Maybe you can brown them up in the oven. And then for salad, just eat like jicama sticks, carrot sticks, cherry tomatoes, just raw vegetables, a plate of raw vegetables. And for dessert, you can have these pumpkin spice delights, or you can get a ready-made vegan dessert, treat yourself a little bit. But try to make it simple and make it fun too. So I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.